are on page 21. I'm going to read this beginning to you, and then we're going to do part of it together as a class. And then the rest of it you will do as homework, so that will be due tomorrow. I think I guess I will. And you need to hear the next thing I'm saying. You want to do this homework. Okay, that's your hint that it would be a good idea if you completed this steeple. So we're on page 21, the geographic and political situation at the time of Christ's ministry. Whenever some students see the word geography, they cringe, thinking that the subject is boring and impractical. In reality, geography is important for one to understand events of history, especially events at the time of Christ during his earthly ministry. But gaining an understanding of geography can actually be fun too. Consider, for example, the following interesting facts about one geographic feature of Palestine, the Dead Sea. And this is from a Bible atlas. If a canal were cut to the Mediterranean Sea from the Dead Sea, the ocean would run in instead of the Dead Sea running out. And then it receives more than 6 million tons of water daily from the Jordan River and other smaller rivers. After a very rainy season, it will be 15 feet deeper and a mile longer than usual. Evaporation is so great that at times it creates dense clouds. The water is nauseous to the taste and oily to the touch, leaving upon the skin when it dries a thick crust of salt. And then its buoyance, so its ability to buoy people to make things float, is so great that it's difficult to sink the leaps deep enough for swimming. It's virtually impossible to drown in the Dead Sea because you can't drown. You're going to bob like a cork, no matter who you are. The Gospels are filled with references to other similarly interesting places, and all of them connected in some way with the ministry of Christ. A thorough understanding of the land of Palestine will help one to understand the life and ministry of Christ on earth. Its distinct geographic features and political realities provide the background of his life. Visualizing and tracing his ministry throughout the land enhances our appreciation for what Christ did for us. Refer to each of the maps in the appendix as you progress through this study of the book of John. So if you look on page 23, at the bottom there is this cutout of Israel. And you're in the south, looking north. And the Mediterranean Sea is on the western side, and then the Transjordan Hills are on the eastern side. So imagine if we were in Kansas, looking north at a cutout of Nebraska, it would be like that. We're looking north from the south. And you can see the picture of the Jordan River at the top of that page, and then Mount Hermon, which is the highest mountain in Israel. So let's look at the cross-section and answer one questions. The physical characteristics, the terrain and bodies of water of Israel may be divided into 5 features running eastward from the Mediterranean Sea. So we'll list the 5 features. What's the first one that's listed there? Not the Mediterranean. After that, what's the next thing next to that? What's it called? A big arrow. The coastal plain, a fairly flat and fertile piece of ground that rises slowly in elevation as it goes to the east. So the coastal plain. What's the second one? Shephelah. And it's a higher piece of ground headed into the hills. We'll talk more about that. And then what comes after the Shephelah? The Cisjordan Hills. We'll talk about what that means and why it's named that. later, not today. So the Cisjordan Hills. And then comes what? The Jordan Valley. And then the last one is Transjordan Hills. Very good. So the next question is, what river runs north and south through Israel? If you look at page 274, you'll see that, but I imagine some of you already know. Yes, John? The Jordan River. And it ends in the Dead Sea. What do you notice on page 274 at the end of the Dead Sea? There's no more rivers. And that is prominent about the Dead Sea. What two lakes called seas are found there? So again, you can turn back if you need to. And what's one of those lakes? Yes. The Sea of Galilee, sometimes called the Sea of Tiberias, as it was in their own times, but more commonly it's called the Sea of Galilee. And then what's the other one? The Dead Sea. So the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea. The Shephelah is a region of gradually rising hills between the coastal region and the Cisjordan Hills. Israel has two ranges of hills, the Cisjordan Hills and what are the other hills? The Transjordan Hills. Now turn back again. I'm going to read this and then turn back again to 274. What land region contains the most cities, including Jerusalem, that Christ visited during his earthly ministry? So look and see where Jerusalem is. In Judea, but we're talking about these in this cutout. Is it the coastal plain, the Shephelah, the Cisjordan Hills, the Jordan Valley, or the Transjordan Hills? No, it's actually the Cisjordan Hills. The Shephelah is kind of that lighter green, and the yellow is the Cisjordan Hills. The highest point in Israel is Mount Hermon, which is 9,232 feet in elevation. So if you've ever been to Colorado and you've seen the higher than 20,000 feet mountains, it's nowhere near that, right? It's half that, and even maybe less than half of that. But that's the highest elevation in Israel. Now, look down here and look at where Jerusalem is. This is Jordan Hills, and you'll see this little dot that says Jerusalem is how many feet above sea level? 2,680 feet above sea level. Now, this one you're going to have to guesstimate a little bit. Just how many miles from Jerusalem is the lowest piece of land on earth, the shore of the Dead Sea? How far is that? You're going to have to use that scale of miles on the bottom. Yes?
17.
What?
17.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to say that to the shore, it's a little more than 10 miles, but it's about 10 miles. The 50 is a little bit west of Jerusalem, and the 60 is a little bit west of the Dead Sea. So about 10 miles. And then if you look on the right-hand side, it'll tell you how many feet below sea level it is, how many feet below sea level it is, and you want to take that, it's from the top of it, not from the bottom. How many? Yes, 1,292 or 1,300 if you wanted to put it that way. It's pretty close to that, right? Now, if you go to the bottom of the Dead Sea, then it's 2,500 feet below sea. Now, page 24, beginning of page 24, I want you to read that. I want you to answer the questions on page 25. I want you to read about the political rulers. And then that is your homework. If you get it done before the class is done, then you don't have homework. But the rest of that is your homework for today. So you can work together.